it is so God.
For sure.
I don't
It's
want to
like,
get
and that's
emotional
like,
about it, but it's God.
oh, totally.
It makes no sense.
All right.
Are
Well,
we going or rocking?
yeah,
Are we
let's
going?
rock and roll.
Yeah, let's
Welcome to
go.
the Hopeaholics podcast.
Yeah, your story is incredible. I love stories like yours because it goes from, obviously we're all in recovery, so then to see somebody that was I would say not doing so well at a very young age.
Colorful childhood is what
Yes,
I call it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then was able to transform their life into what you are today, with not only a beautiful family, super successful in business, and totally polar opposite from your childhood of probably when people look at you that knew you then, or even your parents, I'm sure. Like, they must be so proud of you.
My dad, I was talking to him this morning. So I just hosted an event at the Waldorf, which, you know, is a beautiful property. And
Absolutely.
my dad Googled it when he found out where I was doing it. And he's just like, could you
Like, who are you?
yeah, like, when did this, like, did you have a plan to do this? Like, how did this all happen? And I go, you know, the truth is just, I think I just woke up every day and tried to figure it out. You know, there was no big plan. I mean, when my life kind of came to a halt, you know, I got in trouble and addicted as a teenager, got labeled, you know, a bad kid, got put on Ritalin when I was 11, got taken out of my home when I was 13, put into group home, foster care, that kind of thing. Everything kind of came to a halt when my brother called me and told me not to come home because the police were waiting for me. I had, you know, I did some bad things, and I had some guns and some drugs in my bedroom that my mom found, and she called the police. And so I went on the run, and I was trying to escape the province. I'm from Canada, and I was trying to escape the province I lived in, go to Montreal, because I thought maybe there'd be a group of people who'd be a little bit more accepting.
Yeah.
And on that drive, I took a routine roadblock, and I took an exit, and there was a roadblock the police had set up.
Just a routine one?
It was just sitting there doing insurance and drivers, you know.
Wow.
And when I slowed down, the cop asked me for my information. I just took off.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. And
How old were you?
I was 16. I had, and I was high as all hell, drunk. And I had a handgun in a backpack sitting next to me. And before I stole the car, I told myself, if, you know, because I'd already been to jail once prior, I just said, if the cops stop me, I'm going to pull the gun and let them take my life. And I got ahead. I was like, oh man, I'm getting some good distance. I still remember like thinking like, wow, it took them a while to get in their cars. Like, you know, I'm down the road, and I ended up in this neighborhood and thought, you know, maybe I watched too many car chase movies. There was an open garage door. I was like, oh, I'm going to hide, you know, get in that. Close the door, run out the back door, call it a day.
Yeah.
And ended up coming in way too hot.
Into the garage.
Yeah, just
Went right through.
So I didn't even make the garage. I smashed into the corner of the house. Yeah, like the car, no seatbelt, like just an explosion. And in that moment, I went for the gun.
Wow.
And I fumbled around, and I finally got it, and I started pulling on it, and it got stuck between the seat and the backpack. And cops came up on the car, and they rushed it, and before I knew it, the door opened, they grabbed me. And so I woke up sober the next day, wondering why I was still alive.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I didn't believe in God, but I didn't have any other options. So I just kind of said, if you're looking out, if you're real, if you help me get through this, and there was no plan. It was just, I promised to like stay out of it, you know, just be a good kid, finish high school, that kind of thing. And I ended up doing almost 6 months in an adult prison due to the severity of my background. There was this, they had like this juvenile detention section of this adult prison, cell blocks, full deal. And it was there that a guard pulled me out of, I got in a fight, and I was in solitary confinement, the hole, for 3 days. And he pulled me out, and he sat me down, and he looked at me, and he says, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, well, I got in a fight, like, he's like, no, he goes, not that. He goes, what are you doing in this place? And I was like, well, I got high-speed chase and guns. And he just shook his head, and he goes, Dan, what are you doing here? It's like, and he looked at my soul, and he said, if you've never heard this before, you don't belong here. And it was the first time I think I ever had anybody believe in me more than I ever believed in myself. Like, he just looked at me so confused. Like, it doesn't make sense that you're here. He'd been there for 10 years, seen hundreds of kids come and go.
For sure.
And he goes, you got to get out of here. Like, this is not a good place for you. And a few months later, you know, I got out, kind of got through that moment and ended up getting released to a rehab center. And I did 11 months in this place, this therapeutic community called Portage Atlantic in Eastern Canada. And it saved my life. It helped me understand my stories, my anger, my self-worth. I felt like such a piece of crap. Like, I felt like I was worth less than the air I was breathing. And what's nutty is that at the end of that program, I did 11 months in this place, and I was helping Rick, the maintenance guy, clean out one of the cabins because it's built in this old church camp. And in one of the rooms, there's this old computer and a yellow book on Java programming sitting next to it. So it's programming language. And I'd never touched a computer my whole life. And there's just something about this book. When I opened it up, it read like English, you know? Like, I always thought computer programming would be like zeros and ones.
Yeah.
And I just followed the first chapter of this book and started the computer up and got the computer to say, hello world. Now, you might remember this reference. At the time, I literally thought to myself, maybe I'm the Doogie Howser of programming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I was like, oh, maybe my brain's messed up.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this speaks to me. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but it didn't matter. I believed it.
For sure.
And I went all in. And that's why I sit here today, you know, a wealthy person with a background in building and exiting software companies and investing in 100 plus, and had Mark Cuban invest in my last company, Clarity. Like, it's just the world I live today. It doesn't make sense. I've figured it out over the last 25 years since that's happened. But, you know, and here's what's crazy part is I never shared that story for 15 years.
Wow.
I was so ashamed of it. I was worried if anybody knew, they wouldn't want to be business partners with me. And it turns out one of the most powerful things I have.
Yeah, I was feeling the same.
She has the same. She has
Tell me
the
about
same
that.
shame. Did you have shame?
No, I was thinking about her when you.
Yeah,
said
me too.
that.
Yeah.
I was basically kind of similar in the sense of so relapse is part of my story. I got sober at 23, then had 3 years because the promises started to happen for me. And then I was like, oh, I got this. I'm going to take the driver's seat again. And clearly I crash into walls and go to jail. So I'm not very good in the driver's seat. But so I got sober again at 28, and that's when my life changed because I got a dream opportunity for a job. And that's how I went into WWE. And so all of a sudden I was on Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and also on a reality show on E at the same time. And I was in this weird predicament because I didn't want anyone to know that I had this like double life, essentially. Kind of very similar to what you're saying in the sense of I just had so much shame and guilt, and I didn't want it to be out in the public I didn't want to bring any shame to my parents because my parents are my heroes. I love them to death. And I struggled with that for a little bit, but then, you know, my husband he's a normie. He's a very logical person. Thank the Lord that, you know, he decided to marry this mess. And I just took that narrative and made sure that it was my own, and wanted to not have anybody think that they know what they're talking about and say it before I did, because then, you know, it's so much more powerful. And then I'm not trying to clean up a narrative or something. Backtrack.
Get ahead of it.
Get ahead of it.
Own it.
How did you do that though? Because like that's always did you call your parents to ask them if it was okay?
Yeah, I talked to my husband and I talked to my parents, and obviously my parents are very much, they're so traditional and old school that they did not care as long as I was healthy and good. Yeah. So to them, you know, they were just like, you do whatever you need to do.
And if this helps you feel healthy and good, then we support it.
100%.
That's beautiful.
So then on season 1 of the reality show, I made sure I just addressed it out the gate, so that all of a sudden, whether it's like, because WWE it's amazing, but you know, you have good guys and bad guys, and the fan base is the best in the world. So I didn't want either my cast members or them to all of a sudden it's like Eva Marie's mugshot, you know what I'm saying? Or like all of a sudden it's like, what in the world is this? So I went ahead.
Did you tell them first before you went public?
My parents?
No, the cast members. Like, did everybody around your team know before you went?
They kind of knew a little bit because they could sense like, oh, she doesn't drink like ever when we're doing like little things or at a restaurant, doing like people have normal glasses of wine. So they knew it, but they didn't know the extent because I'm very good at like putting up a solid front. So when they actually heard the story and kind of like where I'd been, where I've gone, what I've done, and then where I am at that current moment, they were more so like, what? This is insane. Yeah. And then obviously once I did, I felt like a weight off my shoulders, but also the amount of love and just people that poured out being like, thank you, or they're struggling, or they know somebody, or their mom, dad, spouse, brothers, like everybody. That's why I feel like, it's so exciting to have somebody like yourself on, because it's hard. You hear all of like the horror stories, but you're the light. Like, yes, it is painful and hard. And once you, grasp hold and you're able to start the process of, recovery, what you hear it in rooms all the time. And I hate saying it, but because it's so cliche, but it's like your life becomes beyond your wildest dreams. Like, I mean, you're flying out of here on a private plane. Like, come on. That's literally, if that's not God and that's not you doing the work. Dude,
it's so God. It is so God.
For sure.
I don't want to get emotional about it, but it's God.
Oh, totally.
It makes no sense.
But it's because you were willing to go ahead. You had the willingness, and that's what we get asked a lot of questions. And it's hard because, there's people that are really close to us that can't get it. Yeah. But it's you really got to be willing to put in the effort, because it is a simple program. Or, I talk 12 steps because that's what worked for me. Yeah. But you got to put the work in. Yeah. It's nothing. Faith without works is dead. So if you're not putting any action behind it, just with everything, if you want to have, if you want to start working out, if you want to start eating healthy, all of it requires action. Like, we can hope and pray and wish. Nothing is going to move unless we are putting in the footwork. Yeah. So it's very easy to stay. And I'm unfortunately the type that I will not change unless I'm in so much pain and misery.
I mean, the reason I ask, because I think, for me, I waited 15 years.
15 years.
And when I look back at the amount of change like I coach this guy named Ed Milet. A lot of people know him on podcasts. Ed. Yeah. So, Ed has this great saying that he talks about, is that the thing that we think disqualifies us from being helpful is actually the thing that qualifies us to be helpful. Come on.
Yeah. No, totally.
Like, the first time I ever shared my personal story and I got off stage, and prior to that, I was a speaker talking about marketing strategies. Yeah, yeah. And I get off, and this is a room with like Tim Ferriss, Mark Echo from Echo, like all these luminaries, and they rush up to me to be like, I had no idea, and I see you differently. And I had that thing inside me for 15 years that I felt shame for, that has transformed my life.
Totally.
But that's why I asked about your parents, because my dad called me up when he found out that I was writing this book and it was going to be in the opening story. And he was like, I don't think your mom would be pretty happy with you. I go, my mom, mom has an issue with this. He's like, well, I just like, Dad, if you want to talk about it, luckily since then, he's just been really proud of, he's seen how many people it's helped.
Exactly. So and I think that's good. Lot.
Yeah. But I had to be willing, because I was like, I'm not going to wait till you move on from this earth, Dad, to share this. Like, this isn't too important. Yeah. And he's luckily gotten to a place where he's really.
Well, that's the one thing that, the Hopeaholics exists for a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons is to break that stigma there, that families have to feel shame if they have a child or a loved one or a spouse, or they have the problem with addiction or mental health. Yeah. Addiction is a mental health issue, so they're not really separate. That addiction typically is the reason, the substance use is us medicating an underlying psychological issue, usually trauma or some self-esteem issues. I came out of the womb feeling not normal.
Yeah.
Like as far back as I can remember, I felt awkward. I felt
Disconnected.
disconnected.
But I think
Yeah.
that's where it stems from, is like I drank and used because I didn't want to feel anything.
I know.
Like that was where I was at, is I just like I want to.
That's like when people ask me my drug of choice, I'm like, not feeling.
Oh yeah, that's
Yes,
totally
Yeah,
that's
like
it.
if you
Like,
sent me like, look at this
100%.
handful of
Yes.
pills, I'd be like, can I have some?
Yep, same. Like that's 100%.
Yeah,
I don't want to feel the way that I'm currently
Exactly.
feeling.
yeah.
Changing your basically your state, wherever it is you're at.
Yeah.
So I want to know. So, all right, you took us to
Mhm.
jail. You took us to rehab.
Yeah,
Mhm.
17.
So
17.
you exited at 11 months after that,
Yeah.
which thank God for the Java book,
Yeah,
because
it became my
sparked
new
something,
obsession.
yep.
It filled that hole.
Where
I had
did
it.
life go from there?
yeah.
So it was really cool. My parents separated when I was 13, so they weren't together. I lived with my mom because my mom was an alcoholic and she allowed us to do whatever.
Sure.
I get out, rebuild the relationship with my dad. He moves to a different part of town so I could change schools. And when he saw my passion for computer programming, we couldn't afford a computer, but he said, because the schools had one, he said, whatever book you want, I'll buy it for you as long as you finish it. And I will buy you another one. So at 17, for the next 2 or 3 years, he probably spent close to $1,500 at the local bookstore, and I would devour them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was healthy. I would stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning
Yeah,
coding.
that's great. That's
Like I just sit
great.
there and write apps, built stuff. Like this is 1997, so the internet.
Totally.
Yeah.
And didn't really have, there was no business. It was just like I built stuff for myself.
Yeah.
And, and then the first thing I ever built, once I finally could afford, like entry level computer, I got a CD burner.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's how
and then
So then,
movies.
so Napster. So what happened was my friends would come over
Oh my
to
God.
Napster.
Yeah.
Napster.
Yeah. Back in my day.
What was that
Yeah.
guy's name again?
Oh, I forget. Yeah. But it was what happened is people would come over and they'd want to build their CDs.
Sure.
But they'd be on my computer. So the first thing I ever charged money for was this app they installed on their home computer that would connect to my computer, know what songs I'd downloaded, build the list, and at night it would burn their CDs, and it was I just charged them $20 a CD.
Wow.
So technically, that's the first time I ever charged money for something I built.
That's cool.
Super.
But
cool.
that's how I was, and honestly, that's how I built my whole life. I've never built a product unless I had the problem that I wanted to see solved in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people are like, how do you come up with these ideas? I go, I see frustrations all day long.
Mhm.
Like if anything, as entrepreneurs, we can't help it. We're like, that's built weird. Why would they do
Right.
that? It's like, I got to stop myself from starting.
Well, that
Right
hasn't
now,
changed in 20 years.
and Sam, my video guys here, I'm stopping myself from creating a new mic company because I have to wear a mic all the time for the video.
Yeah.
And I think it's the dumbest thing that there's a cable attached
Oh my
to a
God. Yes.
It see what I'm saying? Like, so I got to stop myself all the time from,
Are you sure?
yes, I have to, because I also know that I can do anything. I just can't do everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what happened. I got out, started building apps. Then I got onto the internet, ended up in a few startups, 2000, 2001, went through that ride, and then struggled for years just trying to understand the entrepreneurship game. I was a little bit more introverted back there. So I would just stay home, code.
Yep.
That's what I loved about it. There was something about growing up in so much chaos that the predictability of software was actually a really beautiful outlet, because if you write the code, as long as the computer runs for the rest of eternity of time,
it's coming out.
Yeah.
it's comfort. It was literally this predictability that I didn't have in my life. And I would just like kind of get into this like world that I was in. And, but I kept failing. I built a company. It was called Maritime Vacation, which is a vacation rental place, which sounds like, duh, you should have been a billionaire. It's like, I also built it for about 400 cottages on the Eastern Canada called Maritime Vacation. Like, so there's like all these
Could have been Airbnb.
It could have been VRBO. Like, but it was just like these early starts of trying stuff. Didn't realize I should probably have people on my team. I tried to do everything myself. And then I did another one. It was a hosting company, and we got a credit union as a customer. And I'm freaking 20 years old in a server room trying to manage their e-commerce. They're like, I did not know what I was doing. They got hacked, so I almost got sued. So that was dumb.
Gosh.
So I just struggled, and then I just freelanced for years. And it wasn't until I was 24. So I started at 17. So I, real time, not side hustles. See, that's the difference. Like I was all in.
Yeah.
And, you know, my dad was, you know, maybe you should get a normal job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, I'm sober and I'm staying out of trouble. Like, I'm just going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Right. It makes me happy and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And at 23, a friend of mine, I never read business books. This is so stupid. Okay. I've now read over 1,800 business
Sure.
books.
Oh, wow.
But at that point, I only read computer books.
Yeah.
So my friend Corey calls me out one day and he's like, I know you don't really read business books, but there's this book I just finished reading called The E-Myth, you know, by Michael Gerber. Think you'd like it. And I read it and I was like, oh, there's a way to build a business that's like software, like franchise prototypes and systems. It was like speaking to my nerdy process mind. And, you know, I'm in Canada, I'm 23, don't have any money. And I decided I'm going to hire a coach. And I reached out to E-Myth International and I said, I need to hire a business coach. And they introduced me to this guy named Bob. And like no company. And I'm paying him $1,500 a month. US.
Wow.
I'm Canadian. That's like real money.
Yeah, real money.
That's not monopoly money.
No,
That was
everyone
like,
in Canada says
yeah,
that's what it is.
I was like,
American, are you nuts?
I couldn't understand. I was like, for 2 calls a month, like he better sprinkle magic fairy dust on me on our calls.
And what year was this?
Seems
This
like
is
you did.
2004.
Yeah.
In the first year, we did almost $1 million in
That's
revenue.
sexy.
Oh
People
my
don't realize how much
See?
1,500 was though in 2004.
Yeah, that's
that's
a ton.
I didn't tell him,
$5,000
but I only could afford 3 months.
Right.
But I had a year contract. So I was very motivated to implement what he was saying. So
Yeah.
he would say boo and I would say let's go. Like
Yeah,
right.
for
he
sure.
goes, I've never worked with anybody that just absolutely does what I asked them to do faster than I have time to respond. I'm like, you had no idea how much I needed this to work.
I'm sure you told him down the road.
Oh yeah, he became such a fan of the journey. Yeah, we worked together for almost 2 years, and then just like reading other business books and coaching and going to seminars just became. So I know how I've gotten here because I had the privilege of just being mentored and trained by, you know, like I have 5 coaches today. Like I have a coach for our family. We have a parent coach. I have Ed, my kind of like strategy, energy coach. I've got Ironman coach. Like anything I want to do in my life, I just can't see why I wouldn't pay to fast track an outcome.
Are you
Like
saying
it's-
you do Ironmans?
Yeah, I did one 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah. I started 4 years ago. I couldn't even swim.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I don't know if I would dabble in Ironman yet. So I did my first ultra in 2021.
Yeehaw.
And it was a 52K.
Yeah,
And then,
I did one this year instead
you
of the
did?
Ironman. Then I hucked an Ironman because I was already trained up for the ultra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was your ultra? What mileage?
It
did you
was
do?
it was 50. It was a 50K ultra, but it was over 1,800 meters, so it would be like almost 6,000 feet of elevation.
Yeah.
It was serious.
I feel like all of them are like gnarly.
yeah,
Like
massive.
I had
amounts
no
of
idea
peaks.
what I was like stepping into.
Yeah,
When I did it.
pun intended. See,
Yeah.
stepping into.
Exactly.
I feel like I'd do an Ironman before an ultra.
Oh no.
no.
No?
No.
Swim,
Dude,
bike,
have you ever
run?
you drowned? You
Yeah,
swim?
exactly.
I can swim. Yeah, no,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been swimming since I was a
Okay,
kid.
you're like surfer swimmer guy.
Not surfer,
I'm scared of
but
the ocean. That's why
Man.
I'm like,
but the ocean does scare me.
yeah.
Yeah, bro.
And
Well,
with
put-
a ton
and-
of people.
And put a
Ugh.
wetsuit on.
Yeah.
Then you're constricted and put 2,000 people in the
Exactly.
water.
That's
Yeah.
my
Like,
thing.
I-
is-
Flashing and
My
kicking.
full
Ask him the
distance
last
I
time he
did-
was in the water. When
Yeah.
was the last time you were in the fucking ocean?
Yeah.
Like
Go in a pool with 5 friends and while you're
Way
swimming,
different.
have them punch you,
Right.
Yes.
grab your ankle,
Exactly.
and like push your
Yeah.
head down.
Yeah.
As
That's-
you're about to get your breath that you need to
Yes.
get, they slap you in the face.
Yeah. It's like
It is.
Oh wow.
That's just a swim.
Yeah.
And then you got to get on a bike and try not to crash. And then and then by the way, when you're all done that, let's huck a marathon in just
Yeah.
for good measure
hmm
in the heat. Cause usually
Yeah.
that starts around 1 o'clock. So I did my last one in Tempe, Arizona.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, that's where my first ultra was in Arizona.
That one-
It was,
Oh,
yeah.
anyways, we don't know heat like that in Canada.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
It was like 118 Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I had so much sunscreen. Sam's laughing.
What
He's got
is-
a video. I had so much sunscreen on. My wife thought I was sick. When I finished, she's like, "Is Dan feeling okay?" I was so pale. I was so scared of getting heat stroke.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Yeah, I'm
Smart.
doing it
White.
while I'm on the
Smart.
bike. I'm like ripping the thing. I squirt this guy in the face next to me, okay, with this little sunscreen thing. And I'm just slapping it on my body and my arms and my legs, but I
So
wasn't
smart,
rubbing
though.
it in.
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
I just did
Yeah,
not
yeah,
want to
yeah.
get a heat stroke.
For sure, because that will happen. Like that's what happens with
1,000%.
people.
People are
running the-
dropping.
Yeah.
All
They're
you have
running
to
and
do
just
is listen
dropping.
to freaking David Goggins' books. I mean, they're nasty. The shit.
I
that happened
listen to
him.
that when I'm
Yeah.
training.
You
It's
do?
smart.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
yeah. yeah.
did
when I
for
did my
sure.
ultra, I listened to his new book the whole time I did
Oh,
the
yeah.
ultra. Had to. I needed because I was like, I was gonna be in the pain cave.
Oh,
I
for
felt like
sure.
his first book's really good. I actually did it backwards. I did the second book and then I did the first book,
Oh,
and I was the first book's really fucking good.
they're both really, really good.
They're both good, but
yeah.
For different reasons.
For
The
different
second one when
reasons.
he brings his mom
Oh
onto it.
yeah.
Oh,
So good. So good.
that was awesome.
I was injured for 6 months though because of David Goggins. So it's
I'm gonna carry the boat.
I'm
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just
50.
hold
Yeah.
something.
yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
50. Well, yeah, because
You don't know me, son.
Yeah, exactly.
What,
I
did you
love-
lift too
I was
heavy? and
no,
pull
I was on
something?
I was running. I was on the treadmill and I was doing
Yeah.
just a 40-minute run,
Yeah.
and I wanted to beat my all-time
Why
best.
not?
And so I was going for it, and I was way ahead of my pace. At the 30-minute mark, all of a sudden I just feel this rip in my ab.
Oh,
It's just
no.
hot heat, but it didn't really hurt that bad, but I knew it was something. And I had David Goggins on my headphones, and I was like, he would keep going. His butt cheeks were his butthole was
Oh, yeah.
bleeding,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he kept going. I'm gonna keep going. So I kept going, and I beat my all-time best.
Then you had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I was out of the gym for fucking 6 months. It was actually 3 months I was out of the gym, but I was injured for
It is,
6
yeah,
months.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad.
For what though? Like I wasn't doing
Yeah,
anything.
you're not a
but
professional. Like that's why I always got to remind myself.
Sure.
Like I don't compete in
That's the
Ironman.
thing.
Yeah.
You know, like I gotta calm down a little
Yeah.
bit.
How long did you train for?
Well, I mean, for 4 years,
Okay.
like it's you start in May and you just build,
Sure.
build. So
Yeah.
then usually we do kind of 3 races a season. So it started with sprints,
Mm-hmm.
and then my buddies, we did. It's so funny. The first one, I had a DNF because I didn't know how to change my
yeah.
tire on my
Yep.
bike. Okay, like this is how little prep we did, right?
Yeah.
Had to learn how to swim in like 6 weeks. Then the second one, my buddy gets pulled out of the water because he has a panic attack. He buys a brand new wetsuit the day before he
Oh,
races.
shit.
Okay, and it's a water start. So it means like you're like a frogman in the water. He's got this wetsuit on. His heart's in this open water ocean. And the waves, it's like a windy day. So like I got
Oh,
onto the
man.
bike, and after I did the bike, when I came back, his bike was still there. So I knew
Yeah.
he didn't get out of the water. So I DNF first one, he DNF second one. Then we ended up doing a third one that summer. And that kind of started the bug.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been fun, but now I just what I do now is kind of follow the kind of the Misogi concept that Jesse, I forget his last name, Jesse, he has like your build your life plan. Sam, do you know Jesse's last name? What? Itzler? Yeah, Jesse
Itzler.
Itzler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's the only.
like-
I was about to
I was
say it
about
because
to
it's
say
it.
the only Jesse
Jesse
I
I
know
know,
that does
yeah.
this.
yeah,
That
so
runs
so
like
like if
crazy.
He's
you
good.
if you study my philosophy on like life and like scheduling and stuff, him and I kind of share that same thing.
Yeah.
And so he has that concept of like pick one hard thing a year to kind of like shape you.
Sure.
So this year was the ultra. There was a forest fire. I don't know if you saw in Canada, it almost burnt down like the whole country.
Mm.
So, and the race we were supposed to do got smoked out.
Wow.
And then I just woke up 3 weeks after that and just decided to go do it myself. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I did that 50K ultra by myself, get
Okay.
dropped off. My buddy Nick dropped me off in the end of a mountain range,
Yeah.
self-supported through the mountains, listening to Goggins.
Mhm.
And I finished at my house. So it was like we figured out the route, and then my kids ran with me for the last mile.
Oh, that's
This is
cool.
like the most awesomest way.
That's
to
Yeah,
do
that's
it.
How old are your
awesome.
kids?
11, 10 and 11.
10 and
They're
11.
Irish twins, so they're 11 months apart.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
But
What do you-
yeah.
What did you say?
Irish
Irish
twins.
twins.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Irish.
His
Yeah.
Canadian accent
Yeah,
really
but-
came out right there. He said,
I-
"I heard harsh. I heard harsh."
Did you? Not me, bro. Not me.
Wait, now
Felt right at home there.
reeling it back in, during all of this time, how are you maintaining your sobriety?
I mean, for a while I would do 12 steps, so like go to AA
Okay.
meetings. Did that for years. I relapsed on alcohol for 10 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, there was no functioning alcoholic bullshit. I was
Drinking.
yeah.
Had you already gained a lot of success when you relapsed, or not yet?
No, I sold my first company. I was 28, kept drinking,
Okay.
was engaged at the time. That fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
Thought I should probably quit, didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then went on a journey of just betterment, right? Because I mean, there was other stuff. Like I was a workaholic. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
you know, my work became my addiction.
Mhm.
I only knew one gear.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Full speed.
surprise, surprise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just had to learn better ways to just even be in a relationship with somebody else. So that was like, there was a phase in my life where I went down the path of like, how do I be in relationship with other people in a way that's healthy. So, you know, become the person you want to attract. So that's eventually how I met my incredible wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when she told me she was pregnant.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
And I just broke down one day and I was just like, I'm not going to propagate this in my family.
Sure.
And I remember we were on vacation in Bahamas, and I went to the liquor store, and when I came back, she goes, "Are you hosting a party?"
Jesus, that's how much you got.
Oh, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
We were there for a week. I had 40 like bottles of everything, and she wasn't drinking. So I remember I got, you know, stupid drunk one night and got in a fight, and the next morning I said, I'm done, and I'll never touch it ever again for the rest of my life, period, full stop. And it took probably, if you asked her, it probably took 3 years for her to actually believe it.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that's been 11 years. 11 years. May, it was 11 years.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. It's my
Nice.
oldest son's 11.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Nice.
And now it wouldn't even
Nice.
like, it's not part of my identity. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just give it up to God, and I share my story, and I've helped so many people since then. That's the coolest part. Just the amount of people that turn to me because
sure.
they know that, especially alcohol. Alcohol's a funny one because it's such a social norm.
And it's put on like our media, you know, you see it glamorized so much with the commercials, with movies, with TV. And I mean, even now when I watch certain shows and I see how fancy it looks and how glamorized, I'm like, damn, that was never me.
Yeah.
Like I never, like I would play it like in my mind, that's how I would be. But then that's never how it ended up.
No.
So I feel like alcohol is one of those things where it is interesting in our media because alcohol is something that is legal, something that is sold and promoted and can completely take you out of the game. Like you can die. So it's fascinating to me because it's poison.
I don't see a world in the future where we don't look back and go, this is ridiculous.
I
We made
agree.
a poison legal.
Totally.
Like it just doesn't make sense. I get it, but I just can't see a world 8 years that's just one of those things
Totally
where
agree.
like cigarettes.
What's funny about that is what you just called it is poison.
Mhm.
People actually don't realize that. General population.
You really don't believe they don't realize it's
They
poison?
don't know that it is.
That's how the
true.
body responds. Like
They don't know.
That's fascinating.
They
I
don't
think
know
they
that
don't know
it's
it
poison.
to
Like
the
like
They don't
heroin.
wanna hear it.
They-
Yeah, I think that too. I don't.
But
think
the other drugs are actually not poisonous to the body like alcohol is.
Right.
Alcohol actually turns to a toxic poison as it breaks down inside of the body.
Well, that's why we're lucky in this day and age that podcasts exist because then you have guys like Huberman and, you know, bringing out actual like scientific facts about how harmful alcohol is to the body. So like for individuals that aren't addicts or alcoholics, now I feel like are making a little bit of a switch in the sense of wanting to be the healthiest they can possibly be. So eliminating something like that, you know, which I think is important is because knowledge is power. So I think that type of information that is now finally like kind of reaching way more people than before is important.
Yeah, and it might be just my friend group, but like the trend line definitely seems to be a reduction in people drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's just
Health is on the rise.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. No, it's like I just hosted an event for 2 days with very successful entrepreneurs, and like the alcohol bill that would normally be ridiculous.
Oh,
was,
for sure.
It was like not even noticeable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do a ski trip with 48 entrepreneurs, and the lodge we go to, he loves that we come, but he always feels bad for the staff because nobody drinks.
Right. So
But it's not like we had a pack or anything. It's not like we sat down and said, we're not going to drink on this ski trip.
Right.
We just don't. And these are all incredibly successful CEOs.
Because we have your amazing book sitting on our table, how long did it take you to write it?
A long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2.5 years.
So Chad and I want to write a book as well.
You guys should.
Individually, but I'm scared of it.
Well, I mean, I wrote the book called Buy Back Your Time, so I can tell you how I collaborated with other people because that's one of my superpowers. I don't like to create anything without other people. I think what I've learned over the years is just it creates a sense of accountability to other folks. It creates that sound. I mean, I'm looking at the three of you in this room, so you guys clearly get it, right? Like there's an energetic exchange when you have somebody you respect. Yeah. So I think I found my book CEO, Ron. So like that, most people are like, you have a book CEO? It's like, yeah, I didn't really have a need to write a book because I'm a business guy, but I had a YouTube channel that was one of the top channels in the software space, and Ron was not even a software guy, but he would watch it religiously, and he had written 2 books, and he's an incredible dude. And he just called me up one day and said, like, you need a book. I want to see you birth a book. And I go, I'm busy. And he goes, what would it take to get you to decide to do it? And I was like, how about you run the project? And he said, let me talk to my agent and see if we can. So essentially I partnered with Ron. I actually was talking to Lucinda, my agent, this morning, and Lucinda, and we became partners on the book. And then they took care of working on the book proposal with me and extracting all the insights and pitching it to Penguin Random House and getting the book deal. And so there's different ways to do a book as well. Yeah. I can tell you the pros and cons off air for sure. But I will tell you, it's been one of the most eye-opening experiences for me, because prior to the book coming out, it was just me sharing ideas. And this is funny because I told you I've read over 1,800 books. I am built by books. Okay. I drive in a supercar. Kids go, what do you do? I go, I know you want to know what I do, but can I tell you what I've done? Yeah. Because what I do doesn't matter. I'll tell you what I do. And I remember these kids came up to my cottage. They followed us home. My wife and I went on a date night, and it's like dark outside, and these kids saw the car, it was a McLaren, driving down the highway, and they got on their bikes and they followed us. And then we come into the house after date night. All of a sudden, knock on the door. It's like 9 o'clock, and I'm like, Rennie's like, are you expecting something? I'm like, no. And I look out the window, and there's these kids. There's 2 on the grass, 1 up on the patio. And I open it, and it was like I could tell he got picked by the 3 to go to the door.
Yeah.
And he's we really like your car. What do you do? And I look back at my wife, and she's smiling. And I said, I'll be back. And I went out, and we had a conversation. Nice. Yeah. And this is before the book came out. And I remember telling them, I said, I bought this car with books. And they go, you got paid to read books? And I was like, kind of. Yeah. So it was kind of neat because I always had a vision of writing a book. So now the front of my car is full of my books. The license plate of my car is buyback. It's a blue car. It's the same color as the book.
I was going to say your favorite color is blue.
Yeah, it's the same color of the book. Yeah, that's why I wear these shirts.
Your eyes are blue.
Yeah, the team made me do this. They made me buy 17 of these shirts and said, you got to wear the same shirt all the time. So,
smart.
Yeah, I don't mind.
You don't have to worry about
it's part of the branding, right?
Yeah, trust me. I surround myself with smart people. And now when those kids get to ask me that question, I go, 1 sec.
Here you go.
I give them the copy.
Yeah.
And the book does the rest.
It's
the coolest thing in the world.
That is freaking amazing.
Yeah. Was this house in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because in LA, those kids would have been robbing you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
So
we got sound effects.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't mess around
this
over
is
here.
Good.
But I'm excited because I love books. My husband's an avid reader, so I always wanted to become one. And then finally, I actually picked up a book. Everything that we're talking about today requires action. Everything that you've done from your sobriety to like where you are today is because you put in the footwork, whether it's reaching out to somebody so that they can mentor you, become your coach, and then you have to follow those footsteps. Because if you made that phone call to your initial first coach, and you heard everything that he said and then didn't do anything behind that, you wouldn't be where you're at.
Yeah,
so it requires like that action. But with that being said, I'm excited to.
I think you'll love it. Like,
get your book.
Yeah, like I'm really proud. You ever create something and you're just like, yeah, that's like, if I could, I'd buy it for every person in the world, but then I know they wouldn't read it because people gotta. Yeah. So it's fun for me. Like I have a lot of friends they've got big groups, and many of them I like work with them to figure out how I can get the book in their clients' hands, and I'll cover something like I really just want. So the whole book premise is I want to teach entrepreneurs how to build companies they don't grow to hate. Because I don't think that business has to be hard. I think that's something that we create. It's like a reality. Like some people don't realize it doesn't have to be hard. It's just like being sober. It doesn't have to be hard.
Right.
And if you even just within the first chapter, you'll be like, oh crap, it's the paradigm shift. Like, and it took me a while to figure this out, but that's, and the funny part is the reason I wrote that book is because I need to buy back my time teaching what I was. Sure. Because like I would sit down and I'd try to explain it to people, and like that's what that was a thing that shifted this year when it came out was I'll tell you just the impact it had that I didn't understand. Had I known how much a book is completely different than a podcast and a YouTube than a speech, I would have raced to write the book. And I'll tell you an example. So I'm at my friend Mike's house in Colorado. Him and his wife host Renee and I for the weekend. And this was about a few months ago. And he goes, "Hey, Dan, is it cool if my neighbor comes over?" I'm like, "Why? You can invite your neighbor to your house, dude.
Yeah.
Like, thanks for asking." And he's like, "Well, no, I don't want to create any pressure." But I go, "You don't know this, but when your book came out and you sent me some copies, I gave him a copy. And this is a guy that has a business. He works with vets, helps them with their disability stuff. Never had any of the employees, he has older kids, and he works all the time. And he read your book. He hired an assistant. He hired his first staff. He got a house manager. He has more time, and he's helped. Like, you changed his life. And your book was the first book he had ever read. Wow. This is a grown man." So I'm like, "Go get your buddy. Go get your neighbor. I want to meet him."
Yeah.
And when he came in, and I could see, you know what I mean? He's just nervous. And I was like, "Dude, give me a hug." Like, I'm like, anytime you create some art and somebody consumes it, like, it's the easiest thing for an author to get connected with them. Compliment his book.
Of course.
Oh my gosh. Like, people don't realize you put your soul out there. Leave a review on Amazon. That person is your friend for life. Sure. Yeah. Some people miss the boat. And I was just like, man, if I can have that, it's kind of like the first time I ever told my story. It's like, if I can have that kind of impact, that's why I'm doing the media tour. Like, I would love to just have more people.
You know, and you have that impact every time you speak.
Yeah.
Like, you're having that impact on us right now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like I'm going to read this book.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm super pumped.
And that's so funny because this is the second time I've heard about house managers, and I had never heard of house managers until a week ago. 1 week ago. It was, who was it? Told us about it. It was one. Kayla.
Kayla. Yeah.
So this is the fun part. If you guys read the book, I'm your ally. I'm your buddy. So, like, last chapter is a Buy Back Life, and I talk about it, but I'll give you my internal playbooks. If you ever hire one, I'll get my Betty to talk to yours. Like,
oh wow.
That's what I do in the world right now.
Nice.
I help everybody scale themselves.
Yeah.
Because I just want to see people create more art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's the funnest thing I get to do every day.
Well, I didn't even know I was an artist until we started this podcast, right? Because, like, I always thought of myself as just being an entrepreneur and like a business mindset type thinker. And then this podcast happened, and it's opened up a whole new side of my brain, a whole new world.
Well, can I share something? It's kind of neat.
Yes.
So every entrepreneur is a creator. God was a creator. It's first sentence in the Bible. Says, that's how he introduces himself.
Yep.
And nothing that exists wasn't seen first in the mind of another person. So technically we live in the dreams of people from the past. All of it.
Totally.
The water bottle, the mic, this building, all of it. Isn't that crazy as a concept? And that we get to create from that same place, and that people in the future are going to live in our dreams originally. That I think it's just the neatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So how do we do more of that? That's literally, to me, it's time and energy. That's why I'm always trying to ask myself, how do I create more? How do I do it with people I enjoy? How do I make it effortless? How does it feel like light, not darkness? Like that's where I spend a lot of my thinking time.
Because I know that we're short on time, and you're basically
7 minutes.
Whatever.
Really? I feel like it's 2 minutes.
Sam, tell Ben.
10:35.
10. I thought it says 10:30.
35.
Oh, well then I was jumping the gun.
No, that's okay. Go.
Well,
I wasn't. Yeah.
you know,
These two are wasting time.
Time is money, and you
Money
know,
is time, yeah.
money is time.
Yeah, yeah.
But you do fly private.
I know. I'm like, I feel like I should decide what my schedule is.
Well,
It creates a downstream frustration for people. So I have to look at Sam to see how much of a
right. And we
effect.
always want to respect.
I saw
everybody's
Sam's
time
face.
As well.
Yeah.
He was pretty.
It's pretty serious.
Yeah, it was pretty
I know.
serious.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
We'll try to stay out of that. You guys do what you want to do.
But now that you have become super successful, I feel like everyone's really dream is to have the financial stability to basically do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
So you created something that you're super proud of, and then now you're essentially kind of
Giving it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharing it.
Which is the 12th step.
Yeah.
Which, like,
You really
right
wanna
here,
get-
he's
yeah.
giving it away. Can you put me up on here? Look at this.
Buy
Back your time. Wow. Honestly, that is a great title. Because I always think about, man, my time
Always.
is starting to run out. I need to buy some of it back. I'm actually excited. I want to I'm looking forward to
Yeah, me
reading
too.
this, just based off of our
And
discussion right now.
For people that are listening, you can get it anywhere like Amazon.
Yeah, it's available in all bookstores, Amazon. Buybackyourtime.com is the best place because then you'll get access to some of the
Little
extra
things.
resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and because of this audience, if you guys resonate with my story and you message me on Instagram, so Dan Martell, 2 L's and Martell,
Yeah.
I'll actually send them my internal playbook for my admin. So I have a 42-page training document
Wow.
Oh, nice.
that we sanitized, took all my personal information out. There's no opt-in. You just send me a message, say you came from the podcast, and I'll send them the Google Doc.
Awesome.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. I just want people to see how it could look. Because I think once you see things, you can't unsee it.
I think my favorite people, like that's why I'm so grateful for these guys to bring me on the podcast, because meeting people like you, it's inspiring to me in the sense of looking at where you started to where you're at is what I think is like so exciting. Just with the journey of, you could have stayed in that kind of state of the revolving door of kind of what happens with incarceration and bad decisions and things of that. And it's kind of like a cycle. But if you can hopefully grab on and pull yourself out of that, then you have no idea what's ahead of you.
When I talk to a lot of at-risk youth, that's like my jam. Like, where are they hiding? Where did you put them?
Yeah.
Those classrooms that, are in this other building.
Yeah.
And I just start off by being like, you guys have so much. You have the stuff that the other ones think,
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, bro.
They're like the MBAs
True.
at Harvard, they're so screwed. Like if you actually could figure out this, you have so much grit, determination. Because think about this, and I never forget this. I do a lot of work with the unhoused community, the homeless population. And you guys know this, like the difference between them and me is very small.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
micro.
Yes.
It's they have a negative response to that same feeling. And I just found a positive and for a long time, a dark positive response that eventually I was able to heal some stuff to show up differently. But people don't realize, like, they wake up with zero. Like when I say zero, like they wake up on the side of a street somewhere with nothing, and they have a desire and an obsession to get high.
Yeah.
And by 2 p.m., 3 p.m.,
fucking
they
loaded.
How did they do this? So if that same person could figure out how to channel that energy towards the stuff we do, they're weapons. And I speak that into these kids, and I'm like, and my rule is you get out, you stay sober. Only the ones that go to the program I support, because I can't do this for the whole world. But they get out, stay sober for a year, and they reach out to me. I unleash all my resources on making their dreams come true.
That is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
and for many of them, it scares them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I don't want to let Dan down.
Yeah, of course.
But it's true. I just think that's the funnest thing I get to do. Just come out, meet me halfway, stay sober. And then if you want to start a fencing company or a tech startup, game on. Easy peasy.
But I think that's so important, because the guys have heard me say it before. What I used to be in so much like shame about is honestly has become my superpower. And my husband always says I'm like a tornado. So as long as he points me in the right direction.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful frame for relationships. My friend said that. He goes, I used to be, because he was talking about finances. He said, my wife and I used to be the gas and the brake. And then eventually I realized I can be the gas, she can be the guardrails. And together.
That's cool.
Oh yeah. He said that. And I was like, ooh, that feels good. And she never wanted to be the brake. He just didn't give her some parameters to be the guardrail.
Totally.
That's awesome.
And their lives exploded because of it.
Wow.
No, I love that.
Well, you just said it. I thought that was awesome.
Well,
point me in the right direction.
Yeah.
Point
Watch
me
out.
in the right direction, because I can cause
I
can cause chaos in a good way or a bad way.
Yeah,
100%.
creative or destructive.
Yeah,
You
Yep.
decide.
It's
Burn a
all
whole
chaos,
city
but
down
it's
or not?
but it's good, or it's
Yeah.
a negative or positive,
Yeah.
depending on what I feel like doing.
Yeah.
Well, damn, man, it was
been
great to
amazing.
have you
Yeah.
on.
Oh, that's an honor. You guys
Yeah.
are incredible.
No, thanks
Super
so much.
stoked. We never end on time, so I'm proud about that.
Yeah, we actually
That's a
shocked.
win.
That's because I've been keeping on time. I've done good. Normally I can go. I'm trying to catch.
Oh, and
Well, if you guys ever want me back, I just want to say, like,
Oh, yeah.
I do come here.
We
quite
do
this
want
you
area.
do?
I would.
Oh my
I'll come
God,
back
of
and
course.
we'll do
We
whatever you guys
Yeah.
need.
We want
Okay.
to touch on God and
Yeah.
how
Dude,
that's
there's so
gonna-
much.
There's so
fun
much
stuff.
more to
I
talk
wanted
about.
Yeah, it'd be an honor.
There's also If you ever listen to any of my podcasts and I
yeah.
say that I don't like Canadians, I'm only talking about Shane.
That's cool. Shane.
Yeah.
All right, let's add that caveat.
Yeah. I say I
For
don't
sure.
like Canadians, but it's really just Shane. Yeah.
That's fine.
After meeting you, I mean,
Yeah.
I realized that Canadians are actually nice.
Some.
Yeah.
He's the only
It's just Shane.
Yeah, just Shane.
black sheep of
Yeah.
Canada.
Dark shadow
you
here. I'm from Winnipeg, though, bro. You live in Winnipeg.
I don't know. I feel like I should keep my space.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking at chat. I'm like, create some space.
Yeah.
Oh man, thank you again
Yeah,
for
thank
coming
you
on.
so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Honor, guys. Thanks
Yeah.
so much.
Have